Hola, soy Vicky otra vez. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you've enjoyed previous videos, or if this is the first time you've come to watch one of my videos on learning Spanish, welcome y gracias. Okay, so what we're going to look at today. Today we're going to look at diphthong verbs. Now, what is a diphthong? Well, basically a diphthong verb, or sometimes they're known as root changing or stem changing verbs. These are verbs that take regular endings. So if you haven't seen the videos yet for the endings of verbs, or you don't know about the endings of verbs in the present tense, you really need to watch those videos first, because this is the endings that you learn in those videos you'll be using to help you sort of do the exercises in this video. So basically there are three kinds of verbs in Spanish: AR, ER and IR verbs. There is a video explaining how they work for each of those, so if you want, you might want to go and look at that first before you carry on watching this video if you didn't know that. And we learned the endings of the verbs in the present tense, how we conjugate the verbs. It's exactly the same with diphthong verbs. It's the same endings. So you've got the AR endings of o, as, a, amos, ais, an. The ER verb endings of o, es, e, emos, es, en. And the IR verb endings of o, es, e, imos, is, en. They don't change. What changes with these verbs is the first part of the verb, the root or the stem, the bit that when you take off, like for example, if it's an AR verb and you take off the AR to conjugate the verb, it's the bit that's left. So with hablar, well, hablar isn't a diphthong, so we best not use that as an example. We'll use the example that's here in the book. If you have the Break the Language Barrier Level 1 book, we are on diphthong verbs on page 46. If you don't have the book, it doesn't matter, you'll still be able to follow the video and follow the explanation of diphthong verbs, because I'll explain it all in English anyway. Just that some people do have the book and they like to follow it as they go along. If you do want to buy the book, you don't have it and you want to buy it, it's available on all Amazon sites or through my website. Okay, so back to the diphthong. So we're going to look at three different types of diphthong. The first one we're going to look at is the one where the root or the stem of the verb changes from an O to a UE. So the example that we're going to look at is the verb contar. Contar means to count or to tell. It's an AR verb, yeah, contar. Now, we do what we always do with the present tense AR verbs. We take off the AR and we add on a different ending for each person. Remember the persons? First, second, third person singular, first, second, third person plural. So, normally with this verb, we would end up with conto, contas, conta, contamos, contais, contan. But because it's a diphthong, what happens in the first three persons, the singular persons, the O in the stem of the verb changes to UE. So instead of conto, we have cuento, because a CU is a qu sound in Spanish. Cuento, cuentas, cuenta. Then, just as you're getting the hang of it, unfortunately, then when it comes to the first and second person plural, the we and the yous, it goes back to the O again. So we've got cuento, cuentas, cuenta, but then we've got contamos, then contáis, then back to the diphthong again for the third person plural, the they form, cuentan. So that verb, the verb contar, would be conjugated in the present tense. Cuento, cuentas, cuenta. Contamos, contáis, cuentan. See, so it's quite a dramatic difference from conto, contas, etc. Now, the thing is, people often say, oh, why? We don't know why. There is no why. It's just, unfortunately, just the way it is. And there's no way of knowing from just looking at a verb if it's a diphthong or not. You just have to learn them. I've picked out, for the examples that we'll be learning for this video, I always pick out what I think are the most useful verbs. There are other diphthongs. This is not an exclusive or exhaustive list. There are other diphthongs, but perhaps not so common. These are the most common ones. These are verbs that you'd use every day when you're speaking Spanish, trying to communicate. So we just have to learn them, unfortunately. As time goes on and you get better at Spanish, you will recognize them, because when you hear that ue sound, like que, ue, you would just know that that's a diphthong then, and you'll be able to work it back to its infinitive if you need to look up the verb or whatever. But, you know, that comes with time and practice, obviously. So that's the verb contar. So underneath in practice A, for that particular kind of diphthong, there are 6 other verbs that all follow that same pattern. So the thing that we do have to remember is they're not all AR verbs. So I used, with contar, we use the endings for AR verbs because it's an AR verb. But some of these others, as we'll see, they're not AR verbs, so they need to use the endings for either ER or IR if they're not an AR verb. So let's look at the first example. It's always better when we look at an example. Dormir. Dormir is to sleep. And this is a diphthong. O to UE stem change. So, duermo, I sleep. Duermes, you sleep. Duerme, he, she, or it sleeps. Then we sleep. Dormimos. You lot sleep. Dormis. And they sleep. Duermen. Okay? And then we've got numero dos, costar, to cost. So, I cost, first person singular, questo, you cost, questas, cuesta, he or she or it. So that's a handy one. Quanto cuesta? How much does it cost? That actually came up in one of the previous videos when we were looking at prices of clothes, etc. Quanto cuesta? How much does it cost? So costar is a diphthong verb. So, sí, questo, questas, cuesta, costamos, costáis, cuestan. So it's always the same format. Change it in the first 3 persons, the first, second, third person singular. We leave it as the original stem for the we and yous form, first and second person plural, and then back to the diphthong again for the third person plural, they. Okay, so then we've got numero tres, encontrar. Encontrar is to find or to meet. And so that would be encuentro, encuentras, encuentra, encontramos, encontráis, encuentran. Encuentran. So yeah, encuentro, encuentras, encuentran, encontramos, encontráis, encuentran. That's an AR verb, so it takes the endings for AR verbs. Next, we've got numero cuatro, which is poder, an ER verb. This is such a useful verb. This is the verb we use to talk about can, things we can do or can't do. So it's to can or to be able. So an ER verb, so we need the endings for ER verbs. So it's puedo, puedes, puede, then podemos, podéis, and then back to the diphthong, pueden. Then we have volver. Volver is to return, another ER verb. Vuelvo, vuelves, vuelve. Volvemos, volvéis, vuelven. Then we have recordar, an AR verb, to remember. Recuerdo, recuerdas, recuerda. Recordamos, recordáis, recuerdan. Recuerdan. Okay, so that's the 6 verbs that all follow the same pattern, O changing to UE. Then in practice B, you had a few sentences to translate. Number 1, I sleep very well in Spain. So that would be duermo muy bien en España. Number 2, do you remember the song? So that will be recuerdas. Do you remember? All that in one word. La canción. Número 3, they return on Friday. So they return, vuelven. And then when we're saying on a day of the week in Spanish, we don't say on, we say the Friday. El viernes. So vuelven el viernes. Número 4, we can open the door. So we're only conjugating the first verb, we can. Podemos. And then we use the infinitive for open. Abrir la puerta. Número 5, he finds a lot of things in his taxi. Encuentra, he finds. Muchas cosas, need to tie up with the masculine, feminine, singular, plural. En su taxi. Y número 6, the shoes cost 20 euros. Los zapatos cuestan, because it will be they cost, 20 euros. Vale? Okay, so that's the first kind of diphthong. The second kind, it's the same pattern. So when the change occurs, the stem change, first, second, third person singular and third person plural. And then the first and second person plural, we keep the original stem. And again, we have to think whether they're AR, ER or IR verbs. So this second change, this is a group of verbs where the E changes to IE. For example, the example here is cerrar, to close. So normally it'd be cerró, cerrás, cerrá, etc. But because the E changes to IE, so we have cierro, cierras, cierra, but then back to the original stem, cerramos, cerráis, and then back to the diphthong, cierran. So the same pattern, just a different change. This time O changing to IE. So if we look at the examples that we've got, perder. Perder is to lose or to miss, but not miss as in missing a person, that's a different expression, missing a train or missing a bus, that sort of miss. So it's instead of perdo, perdes, etc., pierdo, pierdes, pierde, perdemos, perdéis, and then back to the diphthong, pierden. So it's an ER verb. The next one is an AR verb, comenzar, to commence or to begin. Comienzo, comienzas, comienza. comenzamos, comenzáis, comienzan. So it's a lot to think about. Then we've got entender. We had another verb that means the same as this earlier on in the tutorials, and that was comprender. That's a nice easy verb because it sounds like comprehend, but actually, well, certainly in Spain, entender is used much more for the verb to understand. So it's the second E that changes to IE. So we've got entiendo, entiendes, entiende, entendemos, entendéis, entienden. Número 4, preferir. This is an IR verb. So we need the endings for IR verbs. It's the second E that changes. Prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, preferís, prefieren. Pensar. Pensar is to think. Pienso, piensas, piensa. Pensamos, pensáis, piensan. And then número 6, very common verb, very important verb to learn. The verb querer, which is to want, can also be to love. Quiero, remember the QU is a K sound, not a Q sound. Quiero, quieres, quiere. Queremos, queréis, quieren. ER verb endings there. And then our little sentences at the end. The film starts at 9. La película comienza a las 9. That is an it, third person singular. Número 2. I don't understand Spanish verbs. No entiendo verbos españoles. Número 3, he prefers red wine. Prefiere vino tinto. Número 4, Pedro thinks about Maria every day. To think about is pensar en. So, Pedro piensa en María todos los días o cada día. Número 5, we always lose our sunglasses. Siempre, I like to put my always is at the beginning, but you can put it in different places. There's no hard and fast rule. Siempre perdemos, no change there because it's we, nuestras gafas de sol. So notice with the our sunglasses, it has to match up with the gafas. Nuestras gafas de sol. Y número 6, they want a house in England and they also want a house in Spain. Perfect. Quieren una casa en Inglaterra y también, that's also, también quieren una casa en España. So, quieren una casa en Inglaterra y también quieren una casa en España. Good. So that's diphthongs 2. So we're moving on now to the third kind. It's the last kind that we're going to look at. We're now on page 48 in the book. Now, this third kind of diphthong, these are only IR verbs. So you're not having to think about which ending that you're putting on these verbs. They're all IR verbs. The example we've got is repetir. Now, in these verbs, the E in the stem changes to I, which of course is an E sound in Spanish. So we've got repito, repites, repite, But then for the we and the yous, repetimos, repetís, and then back to the diphthong again, repiten. And the other verbs that you had to conjugate that follow the same pattern. So as I say, they're all IR verbs, so you're only using IR verb endings. So the first one, conseguir. Conseguir is to get. Now, the slightly different conseguir because in the first person only, you remove the U as well as the IR. So that means we get left with consigo, C-O-N-S-I-G-O, then consigues, where there is a U in it, but we don't pronounce the U. So consigo, consigues, consigue. Then we lose the diphthong for the next two. Conseguimos, conseguís. And then back to the diphthong, consiguen. Freír, to fry. Frío, fríes, fríe. Freímos, freís, fríen. Pedir, to order or to ask for. Pido, pides, pide. Pedimos, pedís, piden. Servir, to serve. Sirvo, sirves, sirve. Servimos, servís, sirven. Medir, to measure. Mido, mides, mide. Medimos, medís, miden. Y seguir, which follows the same pattern as conseguir. So we lose the U in the first person. Sigo, S-I-G-O. But then after that, we have the U and the IR endings. So sigo, sigues, sigue. Seguimos, seguís, siguen. Bit of a mouthful, those, because of all the vowels. Okay, so the little sentences at the end, 6 sentences using the verbs. I fry hamburgers on Friday nights will be frío las hamburguesas los viernes por la noche. Número 2, we measure the curtains. Medimos las cortinas. Número 3, the waiter serves the drinks on the terrace. El camarero sirve las bebidas en la terraza. Número 4, they always order a gin and tonic and a beer. Siempre piden un gin tónica y una cerveza. Número 5, we get a job, conseguimos un trabajo. Y número 6, you follow the yellow car, sigues el coche amarillo. Okay, so I hope they haven't blown your mind too much. They're fine when you get used to them. A lot of common verbs there that we use a lot, so it's very important. But as I say, no way of knowing if a verb is a diphthong until you learn it. We just have to learn them, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. Okay, ya está. So, if you have found that video useful, please press the thumbs up. If you want to receive instant notification of future videos and you haven't already done so, please subscribe. I really appreciate you watching the videos. I just hope that you do find them useful. If you're new to the channel, there are lots of other videos that may help you. Please have a look and see if any of them are of use to you. And as always, if there's anything you don't understand, anything you want me to clarify, anything that you particularly want explaining in a video that you don't understand about Spanish. I will try my best to explain it to you. Pero muy bien, ya está. So hasta la próxima. See you next time. Vale, muchas gracias.